Hello there, boys and girls, and welcome to It's a Shaw Thing. I'm your host, Rob Shaw. We're talking some college football. Busy weekend, to say the least. Texas Tech came in ranked number 2. Now they're down to number 7 when it came to the AP poll. Well, let's discuss that big game. Oklahoma winning 65-21 over the Red Raiders. Was it Sam Bradford? Was it the running game? Was it Texas Tech's inability to catch up? So many of it, but it all came down to one simple thing. We've seen at times Texas Tech's defense be deficient, not capable of allowing their team to stay in a game or allowing other teams to get back in a game. But at the same time, we've never seen just a horrible performance through all 4 quarters. We did see that this past weekend. They didn't give their team a chance. They allowed 35 points in the second quarter. They needed to shut down in the second half. What happened? Sooners come out and score another 10 straight in the third quarter. And that was it. There's just no way, no matter what Graham Harrell did, there's no way that he was going to be able to get back in this one. Sure enough, he had great numbers. Look at the numbers, 33 of 55, 361 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, just 1 interception. So you can't blame him. You can't blame Crabtree. You can't blame any of the guys on the offensive side. On the other hand, when it came to defense, the blame does go around. All it took was 19 pass attempts by Sam Bradford, who, by the way, is back in Heisman contention, to rack up 304 passing yards. He scored 4 touchdowns, not a single interception. As far as the rushing game, this is ridiculous. DeMarco Murray, 18 carries, 125 yards, 2 touchdowns for him. Then Chris Brown, another 3 touchdowns, and he had over 100 rushing yards. They simply cannot be stopped by the Red Raiders. That being said, Oklahoma surely has a case to be in the BCS championship game, but it might not happen. There's another team in the Big 12 that might argue against them. That is Texas. We'll see what happens this weekend. Oklahoma against Oklahoma State at Oklahoma State. All right, next up, big game for Notre Dame fans. They got a chance to get in on the action, throwing snowballs, so I guess a chilly reception for the Notre Dame seniors in their home finale. They lost for the first time ever to a team with 8 losses. What does that mean? Both teams stink. It really is that simple. Obviously, the attention was on the Notre Dame offense coming into this one. Charlie Weiss, the head coach, going to be making the calls there. Team looked good through 3 quarters, put up 23 points, but Syracuse came right back in. It scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Zilch, nada, nothing from Notre Dame in that one. The only good news for Donovan McNabb of the weekend, big win for Syracuse, a devastating loss once again for Notre Dame. We already know that Syracuse will have a new coach next season. Yet to be determined for Notre Dame at this point. Next up, Penn State smelling like roses. What a great performance they had, winning 49-18 against the 18th ranked, or then 18th ranked, Michigan State Spartans. This was a huge win. Say what you want about Penn State. The fact is that some people thought that loss against Iowa exposed them as a team that's good but not great. Well, in this situation, they were simply great. In my mind, as I said before, Iowa, an underrated team, had great games this season, fell by a couple of points against Penn State. They put out their best, and they won that one. But Penn State should not be sold short either. We talk so much about the running back, Evan Royster. Check out the numbers that we saw from their quarterback, Darrell Clark, in this game. 16-26, 341 passing yards, 4 touchdowns passing. He also had 1 rushing as well. Great performance by them. As far as the defense, and remember, I always say it's one of the most well-balanced teams in the nation, and their defense was great. They allowed just a touchdown to Michigan State through 3 quarters. Fourth quarter, look, they're playing prevent defense. They allow 11 points. Nothing wrong with that. Penn State is going to Pasadena. Congratulations to Joe Pa and friends. They certainly do deserve it. Next up, we're talking about Utah. Huge win against BYU, 48-24. The irony is this. Coming into this game, well, it was all about quarterbacks. Max Hall got so much love for all the attention and the numbers he's put up this season at BYU. On the other hand, Brian Johnson, inconsistent. So what happens? Sure enough, Max Hall, no touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Good old Brian Johnson, look at the numbers here. 30 of 36. That's a ridiculous passing percentage there. 83% of his passes were complete. 303 yards, 4 touchdowns. Just a great performance by him. The defense was sound. Utah proven to be the best team in their conference. Congratulations to them. They'll be undefeated. They will get a shot at a BCS game. Finally, the Florida Gators. All right, so I don't want to make too much out of this, but we have to bring attention to some of these numbers. Granted, it was against the Citadel, but it is a trend. It's not just about playing Citadel. Look at what they've done against other teams so far this season. They've scored 42 points or more in the past half dozen games. Ever since that ugly loss, or 1-point loss to Ole Miss, where they simply didn't show up, ever since then, they've won every game by at least 4 touchdowns. They're not just winning, they are dominating. The Heisman Trophy winner, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, is on their team. In my opinion, give it to Tebow again. He is simply the best in the nation. The Gators, in my opinion, the best team in the nation. Obviously, Alabama gets to hold the number 1 spot until the two teams meet in the SEC championship game. Of course, huge game for Florida coming up this weekend at Doak Campbell against Florida State. Team, by the way, looked very good at Maryland this past weekend. That is a huge game. If Florida loses that, they could win the SEC title. Doesn't matter. They won't be in the championship game. So Florida seriously has to win this game, win Alabama, then they'll have a chance to once again be a national champion for the second time in the past 3 years. And yes, you did hear me right. You might not have the huge numbers of Graham Harrell. You might not have that huge performance that we just saw from Bradford. But Tim Tebow, in my mind, the best quarterback in the nation. He should win the Heisman once again. Coming up on Thursday, we're going to go over the previews of some of the big games this weekend. I already mentioned one of them, or two of them so far. FSU, Florida, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma. We've got some great rivalry games coming up. Until then, have a great week.
So you think you can tackle a pro? There's only one way to find out. Click on fantasy at opensports.com.